Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Greek philosopher Aristotle said these words a long time ago. Truth could influence only a half of a score of men in a century, while falsehood and mystery would drag millions by the nose. Doesn't that sound familiar? Like, the Mueller investigation? Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a real patriot to call in with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, good morning. And a good morning to you. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, and welcome to our program today, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires for all the driving conditions. And, of course, don't forget, too, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, it's time for a patriot to give us our pledge. Good morning. You're on the air.
Well, good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Attaboy, Wheels. And right now, let's go to the weather forecast. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn. Roger and the crew already there serving you on the Burley-Paul Highway. And I urge you, maybe you've got a project going and you're not sure what kind of tools you're going to need or equipment you're going to need. Call them. Talk to them. 678-3122. They've got everything over there, including all the knowledge to make sure that you get everything you need to finish any kind of a construction project, whatever. K&R Rental in Heyburn. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
We're expecting sunny skies for the day, but as we move through the week, maybe some snow showers are going to be in the forecast. Here's a look at your weather for today. Mostly sunny skies, expecting a high of 30, winds out of the east, right around 10 miles an hour. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with a low of 19. Tomorrow, we do have a slight chance of snow showers in the morning, and that's going to give way to partly sunny skies by the afternoon. Winds are going to be picking up out of the east as well. Gusts as high as 21 miles an hour, and we're expecting a high of 33. A slight chance of snow showers expected for tomorrow night, especially in the overnight hours. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of 24. By Wednesday, 40% chance of snow showers. Accumulations of less than a half an inch possible, expecting a high of 40. And by Thursday, rain and snow showers likely in the morning. That's going to give way to mostly cloudy skies by the afternoon and a high of 42. And that's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. I don't care if you need a heater or if you need sewer snakes or if you need all kinds of log splitters, whatever you need, it's over at K&R Rental with Roger and the crew at 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn on the Burley-Paul Highway. Again, that number for K&R Rental, 678-3122. Good morning to all of you, and I hope everyone listening is off and running towards a great week, and we're going to try to make it as informative as we can. Today, we're going to have Richard Manning on from back in Washington, D.C., At 9:30, we're going to be talking to the lovely Cassia County Communications Director for Cassia County Schools, and that's Debbie Critchfield, about the upcoming facilities bond election. 10:06 is a little bit vague right now because not one, but two people canceled out this morning early, from one in New York and one down in Arkansas, that were going to be on the program. And my lovely bride has been helping me so much try to fill that vacancy. We'll get it taken care of and let you know who's going to be on there. And then at 10:30 this morning, we start our series while they are in session, the Idaho legislation update as to what's going on. And our Senator Kelly Anthon is going to be our first man in the box this morning, answering all the questions. Calls are welcome, 436-2244. 1-866-927-4587. Let's not forget our dear friends at Daryl's Cleaners. Hello over to Daryl's at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You know, the restoration of items and, different clothing items, maybe different keepsakes for the family, or the dry cleaning of your shirts and your dresses and your sports jackets, everything comes back to you looking brand spanking new. Please, I urge you to stop in and see the best. Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, and you tell them Zeb sent you today. All right, another great sponsor that I want to talk about, and then I'm going to go into our stories this morning, and your calls are welcome. For all your heating, and I mean all, your heating, cooling, and electrical needs, don't forget, please, our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Good morning. They get there early at 7:30, open the doors till 5, Monday through Friday. And it's really true. They have all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs, and all the knowledge and the best of people that are serving you. Absolutely. You get a hold of them today. Number to call, 678-0459, and they're located at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Well, the stage is set for the AFC and the NFC championship football games next Sunday in professional football. And it looks like it's going to be the Chiefs taking on the Patriots and the Rams versus the Saints. And the winners of those two respective contests will go on to the Super Bowl. And woo, I'll tell you, I think what we're going to see is, here I go, I'm sticking my neck out. My predictions will be the Rams and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl for this year. Yep, I think the Chiefs, with that new quarterback, that young quarterback that they have, absolutely outstanding. And I think the Rams, with a lot of firepower and their defense, it'll be the Rams and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So that means that smart money says bet against Zeb and go with the Patriots and the Saints. Calls welcome, 436-2244. 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget, for the best of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, anytime, all the time, stop over to our friends at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner at 611 North Overland in Burley, and another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Oh, my goodness sakes. And you know, Valentine's Day is right around the corner, and you can take your sweetie into Valentine's Day dinner, breakfast, lunch, brunch, whatever, at Denny's Restaurant. Super nice people serving you. Wonderful menu choices at Denny's Restaurant. 611 North Overland in Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. And our next lunch bunch will be next week on the 24th. Don't miss that. I want to urge you, too, about our friends over at Stoats Equipment Company. Just wonderful people. Vic and the rest of the crew over there at your John Deere dealer. Stoats Equipment Company, and they make your life easier. They've made my life a lot easier. That John Deere tractor, oh, I love it. I love it. And they've got a segment on tomorrow morning at 9:46 where we talk to Vic and the crew about agriculture. Stoats Equipment Company, your John Deere dealer in Burley, 119 Overland. Really good people. All right, it's your turn. Calls welcome 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I don't know if this grabs you the wrong way, but it didn't set well with me. As the government shutdown goes on, in a record shutdown of a partial government shutdown, all because two sides can't get together and work out a program of I'll take this, you take this, I'll give this, you give that. The Democrats aren't moving at all on this. Pelosi and Schumer, absolutely like stickmen, are going to remain firm. They're not going to do anything. And at the same time this negativity is going on, I don't know if you followed this story or not, but over 30 Democrats, many of them top-name Democrats, and just literally a whole bunch of lobbyists, decided they would take a vacation in the sun in Puerto Rico. Yeah. And President Trump stayed at home. That's right. President Trump stayed in Washington. He had issued an overture to the Democrats saying, okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Even though the last meeting was a bust, I'm going to stay here. When you want me, I'll be in that office. We will get this thing hammered out, and we will stop the partial government shutdown. But they left. They left and went for a tan on the beach in Puerto Rico. What are your thoughts about that? I don't think it's a good optic for the American public whatsoever. Your thoughts on the Democrats basically treating this as a oh, come see, come saw, and President Trump staying at home in the White House saying, I'll fix it. We'll fix it together. All you got to do is knock on my door. Your thoughts. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. When I look at Pelosi and Schumer and the media, quite frankly, they've been laughing at those two for the absolutely abhorrent way that they had their rebuttal speech here a couple of days ago. And like the painting of Gothic America, it was really ugly. What are your thoughts on them? It just seems like they're spoiled little kids, and they are not going to bend or wince or give anything. It's either their way or the highway. That's what it appears to be. Don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Hello, Nick Greenwell, and all the outstanding physical therapists over at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Oh, give them a call and make an appointment. If you're recouping from a surgery or an accident, all the aches and the pains, whatever it might be, they know all the exercises. They have the use of that great hydrotherapy pool, the only one of its kind in the area. I urge you to get a hold of them today, 678-1191. The best, serving you, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. You call for an appointment this morning, okay? Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Where's my callers? Get out of bed this morning. By the way, one of our guests, and I'm not going to mention the name because I don't want to embarrass the man for being so lazy. He'll never come back on my program again, ever. One of the guests that we had lined up for this morning lives in California. And he was scheduled to come on the air at 9:30 this morning. And my wife and I were left under the impression that everything was A-OK, everything was set up, everything was a done deal to have him on the air at 9:30 this morning. And then we hear this morning, oh, no, I can't come on the radio. That's much too early. 8:30, I don't have my mind awake. Well, you don't have to worry about having your mind awake. You're never going to get invited back on this program. Calls are welcome, and we have one. We'll be right there. Stand by. Don't forget Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. Oh, my goodness. Yes, they are a mixed animal practice, meaning large or small, they take care of them all. They want your animals healthy like you do. Please, whether you got itty-bitty kitty cat or a bunch of dairy cattle, horses, whatever it might be, they can and they will help you. Dr. Bill, Dr. Jordan, the entire staff at Ark Animal Hospital in Heyburn. Number to call, 678-1177. They do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you today?
Hey, I'm great. I've got a question. Bear with me. I've been voting for 60-something years. I have never in my life seen a mess as we're in today. Number two is I have backed Trump all the way, and I will continually. But there's one thing that really bothers me. Put yourself in the place of this government shutdown, all of those 800,000 people. My feeling is that they are being held hostage, and I'd like your opinion on that.
You know, stay on the line with me, and I'd like to visit with you just for a moment. Let me just throw this in very simple terms, and I don't mean to simplify the situation. Trump had the table and the door open for the Democrats to come in and talk about this a long time ago. The Democrats had agreed at one point not that long ago to $25 billion for border security money, etc. Then they pulled that off the table, and then Trump asked for $5.6 billion, etc. Then they pulled that off the table. Now, let me ask you this. If you were President Trump, and the only bargaining chip you had was to shut the government down for a couple of weeks as a bargaining chip to get the Democrats' attention to come to the table and get this mess settled, would you do it, or would you go ahead and cave in, capitulate, not have any bargaining chips, and know that the Democrats would never come to the table and talk about it again?
No, I wouldn't cave in. Excuse me. I wouldn't cave in, but I still think they're being held hostage. Those poor people, they have a livelihood to carry on, and the longer this goes, and I'm agreeing with you, it is a tough situation all around. But it just seems not fair to me to another question is if he was able to shut those workers down, and they're not getting paid, but they will pay them when they return. Why do they need the job in the first place?
Yeah. I'm on your side with the human compassion of people not getting their paychecks. Now, they've only missed one. I shouldn't say that only. I mean, they've missed one pay period. That was last Friday. That was the first one that they had missed. One pay period. So, basically, from their last Friday payday to today, we're talking 3 days. I will say this. My heart goes out to them, but also, why can't the Democrats, Schumer, Pelosi, Durbin, the rest of them, why can't they sit down and negotiate maybe a deal on DACA or maybe some other deal that they want? But they take off and go to Puerto Rico for a weekend of fun in the sun. That isn't right either.
No, it's not. Another question I have is, when did they appoint Pelosi president and Schumer vice president?
Well, I'll tell you what, that's exactly the way it appeared. The other night, when I watched that rebuttal, it was like the movie Dumb and Dumber, and I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed to listen to those two because they've exceeded their bounds of power, and I am glad, for one thing, that Trump's not going to capitulate. In your point, though, about the 800,000+ workers that are being hurt, I'm on your side entirely, and I don't see an end this week. I really don't see that this is going to come to a close for any time soon.
Yeah, I would like to think what other people are thinking. Hey, nice talking to you.
Hey, God bless you for your call. Thank you very much. Thank you. There's a nice man right there, and I appreciate that. Caller, I'll be right with you. I want to remind you, too, about our friends at Berry Equipment and Rental. Yes, I want to say thank you to them. Wonderful, wonderful people, sales, service, and parts. They've got all the Bobcats. They've got every size of Bobcat. And they've got all the Doosan equipment. I mean, hey, talk about equipment rentals and retail equipment sales. You better believe they can and will help you. 3 locations, too. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with Juan, good old boy. 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls with Eli, and the Nampa location. You please get a hold of them today. Don't know how to run the equipment? No worries, mate. They can take you out in the sandbox behind and they'll teach you. Berry Equipment and Rental, Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. My frustration with the shutdown is not only those who rely on those income to support their family, but if I'm not mistaken, the people who caused this, not willing to work with the president and so on and so forth, they will get paid for the time that they were not on the clock and the shutdown was. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Back pay for all that?
Yeah.
Well, I don't feel that they deserve it, because to them, it doesn't matter how long it stands. They're still going to get their money one way or the other. I think that if they're not willing to at least come forward and make some kind of considerable resolution and not try and backlash or backbite on the president, then that's one thing. But to stand ignorant and firm and talk bad on the president, try to demolish or diminish his appearance to the public, they shouldn't get a dime.
Well, here's the way I feel about it, Riley, and I personally don't think that Trump should depend upon the Democrats giving a yay or a nay on the funding for the wall. Personally, and I know I'm going to take criticism over this, I think Trump should sit back, go around all the sources from the Democratic Party, and figure out if there's money in the U.S. Treasury that has been turned back into the Treasury, figure if there's money from other sources, figure if there's money in the Department of Defense budget, etc. I think there's enough money to come up with $5.67 billion to fund that wall without giving the Democrats the luxury of sitting there and acting like kingpins over this situation. Also, I want to say this in conjunction with trying to find the money someplace. I do not think that he should put this as a United States hurry, do this because we're in a time of crisis and make an executive order, because I'm very afraid that other presidents might take that as an initiative and do it over minuscule things in the future. So I'm a little concerned about that.
Yeah, I see your concern about that. Isn't that kind of what happened with Obamacare? He pulled the strings and kind of more or less did it in the dark of night and used the executive power to do whatever he wanted, whatever he felt was necessary, and that ended up hurting us more than it helped us.
Yeah, look what we got.
I agree with that.
Yeah, look what we got. Riley, it's always good to hear from you. You bring up excellent points. Thanks, buddy.
Love talking to you. I gotta go.
All right, buddy. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think there's money out there. According to some of the people I talked to over the weekend, there should be enough money in various departments, etc., that we wouldn't have to worry about getting the nod from the holy rollers over there at the Democratic Party. Caller, I'm going to take your call, but make it real quick because I've got to get on a little quiz for Sophie's Cookies. Go ahead, please.
I'll call you back after Sophie's cookies.
Hey, good man. Appreciate that. Thank you. Right now, it's time to give away some cookies and Sophie's Chatterbox. Absolutely the best at 530 East Street in Rupert Bakery Restaurant. Oh, it is good eating. Cookies and the pies and the cakes and everything. Oh, wedding cakes. Does a beautiful job on wedding cakes. Don't forget Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. And if you're the winner of the cookies this morning, be sure and call them and tell them when you'll be over to pick them up, okay? Here's the question. First person to call in with the right answer is going to win the cookies. Name the 1960s TV detective show where one of the characters, Ed Cookie Burns, kept combing his hair. Name the 60s TV detective series, pardon me for the frog in my throat this morning, where Ed Kooky Burns, one of the characters in that show, kept continually combing his hair. What was the name of that television show? Come on, give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Yes.
How about 77 Sunset Strip?
What's your name?
Jim Roberts.
Jim Roberts. Well, I hope you like cookies because, by golly, you just won a dozen of them over to Sophie's Chatterbox.
All right. I love cookies.
All right. Jim, God bless you, man. Call him and tell him when you'll be over there to pick them up, okay?
Okay. Thanks, Seth.
Thank you. Thank you. That's right. It's 77 Sunset Strip. And Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. used to be one of the detectives. And I'm saying this out of memory, but I'm trying to think of the other guy that was along with Kooky Burns, Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. And was it Roger Smith, I believe it was, the other actor on that show. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Now we'll take your calls. While I'm waiting for your calls to come in, don't forget Dino's Septic Service. They do the job that you and I don't want to do. Oh, no, they go out and they pump all those septic tanks, and they do a backhoe service, and they have the septic inspections and the liquid waste removals, sewer and sink drain lines clean, all of this with a big smile on their face, serving you. They've recently expanded to better serve all the folks here in Magic Valley. All you need to do is call them at 436-6526, or in Burley, 678-1638. With a big truck that says smells cargo on the way, Dino's Septic Service, absolutely the best. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
Yeah. The Democrats, they don't care about American people. They're showing that in their actions every day. They don't care. This is all political. They have voted for the wall many times. In fact, put more money towards it than they want now. They want to continue some of the wall that Obama built down in the Rio Grande Valley. They want to extend it because it's working, and the Democrats won't even come to the table.
Yeah.
And another thing, they're wanting to pass a bill through Congress to make it mandatory for President Trump to give the last 10 years of his taxes to him. Well, let's make this door swing both ways. How about every member of Congress and the Senate give their taxes for the last 10 years and also specify how much they received from lobbyists in those taxes?
Yeah, let me ask you something. You know who Bob Menendez is, don't you, from New Jersey?
Yeah, I wouldn't be running around without a shirt if I was Bill.
Yeah, I was going to say that. He's in Puerto Rico laying on the beach with young ladies that are not related to him as nieces. Anyway, Bob Menendez, and we also got a little bit of feedback here, just a tad. Bob Menendez has been investigated for a whole bunch of slippery, slimy doings, and many of which have been pushed under the table to keep him in office. And here you go. There's a perfect example of the Democrats and the sleaze, and it's okay for them to stay in office, and yet they're the ones that are throwing mud at Trump and the White House? You've got to be kidding me.
Exactly. If they want, what's good for the goose is good for the gander here. If they're wanting to investigate President Trump, then they need to be investigated also. They need to shine some light on all their past dealings and doings, because I'll guarantee you they won't pass the smell test, let alone the light test.
Well, okay, the American public. Let's just say this. Most of the American public, the majority number, and it's unfortunate, they only probably get the news sources of ABC, NBC, and CBS, really, still today. And a lot of people don't pay attention to the news, nor do they take the time to really study the news. So whatever happens on NBC, for instance, they're being fed information that's anti-Trump. You know that for a fact. So they sit there and they blame the shutdown on Trump, and they don't hear the stories about the Democrats and all the lobbyists laying on the beach drinking Mai Tais in Puerto Rico, and the whole blame falls on Trump because of a distorted and maladjusted news media, and I'll stand behind that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a fact because, like you say, they are unwilling or uneducated enough to look up what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, most of it's unwilling. They're unwilling. They're just lazy. They read that, like the headline. They just read the headlines. They don't read the articles.
Yeah, well, okay, for instance, Doug, it's coming out over the weekend, and this just blew my mind. I sat there like a pumpkin on Halloween, and it just, poof, blew my mind. That the FBI, under fired Director James Comey, out of spite and because of the fact the Democrats lost the election, they had geared up an investigation to try to prove that Trump was a Russian agent. And I'm sitting there, I about walked right through the living room wall. I couldn't believe this nonsense.
Exactly, and further on down in the story, there's a paragraph that reads that there is, basically paraphrasing, there's no there.
Yeah. But yet you plant the seed, though. You plant the seed in the American public, and, like I just said a minute ago, with the naivete of the American public and not sitting down and discerning what's honest and what's factual, you plant a seed and people run with it.
Exactly. You just what you call just reading a headline.
Yep.
They don't take the effort to completely read the story to get the whole picture. And they do the headline so they can get clicks, so they can get their advertisers.
It just blows me away to think that for the first 2 years of his presidency, this man and his administration have been able to do as much as they have been able to do because of the extended effort. Everywhere he turns around, somebody's slapping him. Exactly.
Can you imagine what President Trump would have been able to accomplish had 50% of the news media been positive on things that are happening and the other 50% been negative?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, there's one thing that I heard on Hannity last Friday on those angel moms.
Yeah.
One of them made a statement that is very powerful. She said, "It is not Trump's wall. It is America's wall."
Well, it is America's wall, and I heard that commentary live when it was being said on the air. And isn't it interesting to you that the Border Patrol and all the workers on the border, all the folks that really know what's going on with the numbers of people that are coming in here illegally because they see them with their own eyesight and they have to process the ones they catch, those are the people that are least listened to?
Exactly. Yet they've got experts saying they don't work.
Yeah. And then you have somebody stupid, really stupid, like CNN's Jim Acosta, standing by a border wall saying, well, gee, I don't see any activity here. Well, the Nimrod, he's standing by a wall proving that it works.
Exactly. That was so funny. And one thing I've noticed, too, remember that guy that mailed all those fake bombs to the Democrats?
Yeah.
Have you heard anything else about him?
No, he has kind of been filtered away into he tried to do his job, but he didn't get it done. He's in another third world right now.
Yeah, but there's never been anything about the prosecution.
No.
On a trial or anything.
There's a lot of stories. It's interesting you should say that. I got another call waiting here, Doug, but it's interesting you should say that because think of all the innuendos, all the allegations, everything else over the last, let's go 3, 4, 5 years. And all of a sudden now some of those have just disappeared.
Exactly.
Yep.
Manufactured. Well, like that gal that brought all those sex charges again. She just faded away.
Yep, gone. Yep. Not even shopping at Kmart. All right, buddy.
Everybody, let's do what we can for our seniors. I know I sound like a broken record, but it's a deal that's true and dear to my heart that we need to take care of our seniors because they built this country that we are enjoying So it's time to give back.
Amen, Doug. Thank you very much. Thank you. Caller, I'm going to ask you just to stick there for another 30 seconds. I'll be right there, I promise. I want to remind you about our dear friends, Quality's Electronics at 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. Don't forget, sign up for Dish Network. We have, and we love it. And you can lock in your price. Lock in your price for the next 2 years. Quality's Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. And I'm going to give you the number to call, Bruce and the crew, because if you mention my name, Zeb Bell, you get an extra $50 credit off your first bill. Hey, I'm telling you, Quality's Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls, 733-4910, 733-4910. You call Bruce, tell him I told you to call today. Caller, good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, I think there's 133 different countries have been apprehended or trying to get into this country. It's not the Central America people at all. You know, it's just incredible the number of people that want to get in this country. And of course, most of them just want to come here perhaps for a better life. But we know that a lot of them are here to do us harm as well. And they're not here to assimilate. They're here to get on the welfare rolls, and they don't want to learn English. We should have a bill. The movement's kind of been dropped, that we have English only ballots in English, and of course now everything's electronic, so don't have to worry about that, I guess. But you know, Zeb, the bottom line is the goal is to destroy this country, to make us a third world country, and if we don't stop it, like your previous caller, I mean, we've got some major problems. But, you know, we better back Trump. Can you imagine if Hillary'd been in there right now? Well, Ruth Bader Ginsburg would have resigned and retired, and that would be great. She's hanging in there because she knows Trump would appoint more of a constitutionalist, and they'd be going after our guns right now. That would be the big item that I would think that people need to think about when they say, well, I don't like Trump, and and so forth and so on. We weren't electing a pastor. We're electing somebody to stop the bleeding of this country.
I agree.
And basically destroy it.
You know, and Adrian, there's so many things that you and I have talked about in programs past that have come to, unfortunately, fruition as worrying items in this country. Right now, immigration, illegal immigration, refugees coming in from other countries, not knowing what's on the dossier as far as their past history or their involvement or whatever. I'm very concerned, and I'm really concerned about the naivete and, quite frankly, the uneducated manner with which this is happening, because the American people are being duped into accepting all these people, estimated over 22 million illegal aliens just coming across the border, not counting all the refugees and not counting all the legal immigration. We are a country that is besieged right now of trying to figure, where are we going to put these people? How are we going to house them?
All of our politicians at all levels, Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, of which they take an oath, says they are to protect us against invasion.
Yep.
If you study the history of that, it's not an invasion of a standing army. It's invasion that's going on with the exact thing with this open borders and so forth.
Yep.
And I just watched a video on YouTube. Obama has a 10-foot wall around his house, or his property. Plus, you can't even get you can't get as close to his place as you can the White House. And I've been back there, and it's about a half a mile from where you can see the White House to actually where the White House is at. At least a half a mile. I think more than that, actually. But Obama has got all the security that we're paying for to make sure nobody even gets close to that 10-foot wall. I'm sure Pelosi, walls work. Look at the Great Wall of China to prevent the Mongol hordes from coming in. You talk about a wall that worked, and walls work. And what you said about Jim Acosta, that was all he did was prove that walls work because there's nobody there. They're not going to try to get through that. They're going to go someplace else where there's no wall.
Absolutely. I've got to run and do the weather, but your points are always well received. Thank you, Adrian. God bless. Have a wonderful day.
We better get with it.
Thank
get
you.
with our politicians and stop this nonsense.
Amen.
And they need to enforce the Constitution. Thank you very much.
Yeah, all right, sir. Thank you very much. And right now, the weather forecast. When I'm done with the weather, I've got to tell you about another Democrat that lost in her election bid to be a governor, but now she's proposing something else very insidious. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Right now, I want to say a big thank you and shout out to Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Oh, my goodness sakes, they are good, helping you with your hearing health needs. Absolutely. And 3 doctors, Dr. Pickup, Dr. Mitchell, and Dr. Hunsaker. And I urge you to call them for consultation if you're noticing any diminishment in your hearing. They are the best at what they do. Located right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. Number to call, make an appointment to make sure everything is okie-doke with your hearing is 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
We're expecting sunny skies for the day, but as we move through the week, maybe some snow showers are going to be in the forecast. Here's a look at your weather for today. Mostly sunny skies, expecting a high of 30, winds out of the east, right around 10 miles an hour. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with a low of 19. Tomorrow, we do have a slight chance of snow showers in the morning, and that's going to give way to partly sunny skies by the afternoon. Winds are going to be picking up out of the east as well. Gusts as high as 21 miles an hour, and we're expecting a high of 33. A slight chance of snow showers expected for tomorrow night, especially in the overnight hours. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of 24. By Wednesday, 40% chance of snow showers. Accumulations of less than a half an inch possible, expecting a high of 40. And by Thursday, rain and snow showers likely in the morning. That's going to give way to mostly cloudy skies by the afternoon and a high of 42. And that's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you very much, Gina, and brought to you by our friends over at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And I really urge you to give them a call. And boy, hearing is fundamental to quality relationships, and don't lose yours. And if you're having a problem, please call for a hearing screening. 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Wonderful, wonderful people. You know, it just blows my mind when I sit down and I take notes every day at lunch after this program's over. And then in the evening, I listen to about 3 or 4 various broadcasts to get kind of a semblance of what's going on in the news. Then in the morning, we start at 4:30 here in this office, calling Washington, D.C. and New York to find out about other stories and verification of stories. And when you hear things like this story, it just makes you wonder why the American public isn't up in arms and just absolutely pointing their finger at this woman and saying, don't ever consider running for politics again. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about black woman Stacey Abrams in Georgia, running for the Georgia governorship, and she lost. And she was highly critical of the vote, absolutely saying, oh, it was fixed against me, etc., not in so many words. But all the negativity, I lost because of this, I lost because of that. Now, after losing, coming out yesterday and saying in an interview that she would support voting rights for illegal aliens. Let that soak in just a little bit. She said she would support voting rights for illegal aliens. That is one of the big reasons why I'm so ecstatic that a person like her was put down in defeat. I hope she never runs again for anything. Advocating voting rights for illegal aliens, and then she tried to back that up a little bit and say, well, when pressed on the issue, she said, well, voting rights for illegal aliens just in community elections. You know as well as I do, once the Tony Lama's stuck in the door, it's going to be pretty hard to close the door. In other words, you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile and keep on running. But the thought about illegal aliens coming in here, I don't care if it's a school board election, I don't care if it's an election for maybe putting a bigger and better swimming pool in, letting illegals decide how the taxpayers' money is going to be spent is ridiculous. And going back to what Adrian said a few moments ago about the trashing of our Constitution and our laws and everything else that we've held in respect and honor for over 200 years, the Democrats want to take it apart and throw it on the ground and stomp on it. No, Stacey Abrams in Georgia, you are a repugnant woman that absolutely should never have shot your mouth off to the media, and I condemn you for the advocacy of illegal aliens being able to vote. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Have you noticed over the last couple of days, weeks as a matter of fact, the number of Democrats that are considering throwing their name in the hat for the Democratic presidential nomination? There's people I've never heard of before, and people of very, very minuscule means as far as what they've ever done in politics. I mean, they're not your household names like John Delaney. Yeah, go ahead, raise your hands. Who's all heard of John Delaney and what a great guy he is? Or Julian Castro? Yeah, let's all throw our hands up in the air about all the great things he's done. And then tell me this. Why would anybody be tempted, or it would persuade their opinion to vote for someone like Beto O'Rourke when he's laying in a dentist chair with a camera mounted on the dental technician's head, staring down into Beto O'Rourke's mouth? Or watching Elizabeth Warren lip lock a bottle of beer? Where is the public persuasiveness in those kind of idiotic videos? Elizabeth Warren, that was, honestly, I sat there and I watched that and I thought, what a creepy, uneducated way to say that they're just part of the general public? Or Beto O'Rourke sitting in a dentist chair going, showing all of his cavities and his tonsils and everything. That's going to persuade me to vote for him? My grandmother summed it up the best, my German grandmother, when she used to say, ay, 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 ay. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's not forget our dear friends at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires for wintertime driving. And it's wintertime out there. Cold, chilly, I'm telling you. It's winter, and no matter what's on the road, snow, ice, muck, yuck, whatever, they've got the tires and all the different tread designs for your cars, pickups, and SUVs. I urge you to stop in and see them today, and along with that, the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. Oh yeah, lots of good batteries. All of this with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and my old buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. The best, absolutely the truth, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All right, here's the whiz-bang for the rest of the hour. 9:06 next hour, Richard Manning, and we're going to be talking to him about a lot of these topics this morning. Then I had a lot of questions after we had Dr. Jim Shank on the air this last Thursday and regarding the facilities bond election for Cassia County Schools. Debbie Critchfield's going to be on the program at 9:30, and that's what's coming up this next hour. Don't forget again, Lunch Bunchers, we will be getting together on the 24th. That is a week from this Thursday. Next week on the 24th, it'll be Lunch Bunch at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. Don't you forget to be there. Okay, we're looking forward to it. And then at 10:30 this morning, of course, our first edition of the Idaho Legislative Update, sponsored by our friends at Handy Truck Line. Absolutely great folks over there. And Senator Kelly Anthon will be our first man answering the questions. So there you go. I'll be back in 7. Don't go away. Oh, good morning. It just looks really cold outside this morning, and quite frankly, right here at the old Zeb at the Ranch, it is right now 17, and I'm looking across at all the frost on the trees out behind the back pasture and everything, thinking, woo, man, am I glad I'm in here. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and along with some of our wonderful advertisers, including Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, Wheels, please, this good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Oh, my goodness, yes, we appreciate everything they do. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. And don't forget they've got the Go Mini storage units. Yep, the portable storage units, they've got them in various sizes. They can bring one to your home. You can fill it up. You can store it on your place or lock it up tight, and they'll take it back and lock it up on their property. Absolutely. Western Waste Services, 734-6969. Get a hold of them today. Always at your disposal. Want to remind you, too, about a great new business that's helping seniors in our area, and that's Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors at 135 East 23rd Drive in Burley with Holly Rowe and her staff. And, you know, the nice thing about this business, if seniors want to stay in their home, yep, they can, and they might need a little assistance with daily tasks or maybe some meal preparation or light housekeeping, whatever the case might be. Hey, Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors can help. Call, please, 312-5715. I'll repeat the number, 312-5715. Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors. Get a hold of them today. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and I have a lot of outlook and optimism for Mondays because I know that we're going to have a guest on this program that always tells it like it is, and I appreciate him. He is the president of Americans for Limited Government, my friend, Richard Manning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Zeb. How are you?
I am good, and right now we're going to give an award, and so stand by at the podium because you are going to be the presenter of the Duh Award for 2019 already, and the Duh Award goes to Jim Acosta at CNN News for standing by a border wall and not seeing anybody illegally climb over.
It's almost, I don't know how to describe the level of ignorance or stupidity that exists within that guy's thinking. You know, here's the weird part, Zeb. 5, 6, 7 years ago, he was actually a real reporter. He was actually an honest-to-goodness real reporter who you would try to give stuff to and had the respect of other journalists, and something went to his head, and he I think he's lost his ability to actually know what's going on around him. So, it's I guess it happens, but yes, he may be a Lifetime Achievement Award. They have the Darwin Awards that they give out, and I think he may be qualified for that as well, although none of his mistakes have been personally fatal yet.
I love it.
But he is beyond comprehension how wrapped up in the narrative he's supposed to sell, and how forgetting to actually be able to tell a story from a non-story.
Let me ask you this, Richard. We're at the longest shutdown of the partial government shutdown ever in the history of this United States. But what do you see? I mean, you are looking at a crystal ball that's a lot closer to the situation, many, many times more so than me. Are you seeing any cracks? Are you seeing any capitulation? What are you seeing back there?
Well, there's a couple of things that are happening that, for those of us who are kind of hoping that we can get the necessary border security funded and move forward, there's a couple of things that are happening that are positive. First of all, a Democrat from California who was just elected to a seat, northern Los Angeles County seat, has said that is basically said, let's fund the wall. Let's just do this. She was elected in a Republican district, and in a wave year in California for Democrats, and she is now telling her constituents that she really believes that it can fund the wall. So that's a break in the Democratic side. There are about 30 Democrat districts that are newly won, which can be where those members are going to be under intense pressure to actually do something to fund the wall, to reopen the government. And it is, and quite honestly, it's my job, part of my job is to put those people under intense pressure, because they will crack. It's just a matter of time. But gosh, it's a shame that they're taking this long.
Let me ask you this part of it then, Richard, the optics of the situation. President Trump stayed in Washington this last weekend with the notification that if the Democrats wanted to come see him, he'd be in his office, knock on the door, and maybe they can get something put together. But the Democrats, not all of them, but 30 well-known Democrats and a lot of lobbyists, they decided to get some suntan oil and go to Puerto Rico and stay on the beach. And a great white whale was sighted on the beach, Bob Menendez, shirtless. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the picture, and anybody who hasn't seen it, is a picture of Menendez facing the camera. A female was facing him, and he's got his hand out. His hand is empty. So the only thing I basically had a kind of a rude thought at first, but I'll share the clean one. Anytime you see Bob Menendez sticking his hand out to a lobbyist, you know that there's time for somebody to feed the meter. And so I just would have put a little caption saying, it's time to feed the meter.
Yeah. What about...
The other one is, of course, Bob Menendez had a lot of, shall we say, allegations that he had gone to the Caribbean and engaged in a lot of activity with underage women that was inappropriate.
Absolutely.
And so Bob Menendez being filmed shirtless in the Caribbean can never be a good look for him under any circumstance.
I couldn't agree more. Now, let me ask you this, and I'm going to get a little bit more serious right now, because I want to know the information that you may know about who the quarterback is, who's the organizer, who is the forming party of this new, that's supposed to be bigger by thousands, caravan leaving Honduras and headed for this country. Where's the money and the organization coming from?
I don't actually know who is funding it per se. I do know it's being organized. I do know that in the past, caravans, the Honduran government has played, at least a former senator in the Honduran government has played the role of recruiting people and urging people to join the caravan. It's easy to say that it's somebody like a George Soros or somebody like that who's doing it, but the fact is the stupidity of doing that right now is so off the charts that you almost have to think it's somebody who's a foreign power, or somebody who doesn't understand that this is the absolute worst time for that to occur politically when it comes to stopping, the whole political argument about whether or not we need to stop this stuff. And so it's I truthfully can't tell you. It's perplexing to me, but what we do know is this, caravan or not, 20,000 kids crossed the border illegally last month in December. 20,000 kids crossed the border illegally, according to the Department of Homeland Security. It's not just these organized caravans that get a lot of publicity, but it's a regular flow. It's like a superhighway to our border, and people are paying $7,000 to $16,000 a person to get taken across the border. Some of the cartels make more money on human trafficking than they do on actual drug trafficking. Mm-hmm. And so so this is big business. And when you say about who's funding it, it's very possible that what's happening is these cartels are going around and they're recruiting people who have means to make the trip, lying to them that they're going to get across the border and it's going to be easy. And as long as we make it so there's 20,000 children making it across the border every month, as long as we don't have the capacity to funnel people towards ports of entry so that we can make certain that only people who are eligible actually make it across, as long as we do that, you're going to continue to see these massive caravans, but in the steady flow. The caravans get the focus, but the steady flow is the problem. It's a nonstop trek across our border.
On another note that I wanted to talk to you about this morning, Richard, another story, another demeaning story, another incriminating story. New York Times, FBI going to investigate Trump for possibly being a Russian agent. When I first heard this, I was walking from the living room to the kitchen and I almost fell across the pellet stove. What's going on here?
Well, this was an investigation which supposedly started after the FBI, after Trump fired Comey. What we know is that investigation actually started before the presidential election, and they had issued FISA warrants. The reason this is a story is because the New York Times is attempting to disrupt the situation right now, and so they are shooting every gun they have, figurative gun they have at the president. And the fact is they've kept their readers in the dark about things that you and I have known about for a year and a half. And so they're now revealing stuff that we knew that isn't a revelation to us at all. It's something that we knew a year and a half ago. But what they're not telling their readers is they actually started the investigation before the election, and the investigation was started based upon a Hillary Clinton hit piece that was developed by using our foreign intelligence services. They're not telling their readers that. The most uninformed readers in America are people who read the New York Times, and they think they're getting the news, and what they're getting is a whitewashing of some of of what's going on in a hand-picked, hand-fed version of the news that is so far from what's actually happening and having any depth. It's almost, the New York Times, if they were a licensed agency, would have their licenses revoked.
Mm-hmm. Couldn't agree more. Another problem that I see that could develop into a real media outburst is the Supreme Court Justice Ginsburg health problem. And if she's not able to continue, basically an empty seat on the Supreme Court if she doesn't come back health-wise, and if Trump has to nominate another Supreme Court justice, everything I've read, everybody I've talked to back in your neck of the woods said that it's going to make the Kavanaugh hearings look like a picnic compared to what's going to happen the next time. What are your thoughts?
I think that's absolutely true. But that doesn't mean that he should shirk away from doing so or should try to ameliorate those who would throw a temper tantrum. But it'll be really ugly. We have a guy who's up in front of the Judiciary Committee right now who is up for a lower court judgeship. And he is Roman Catholic, and he is a person who he was a member of Knights of Columbus. And we have Kamala Harris and others attacking him because he's a member of the Knights of Columbus, which seems rather odd, but and that's all a precursor to going after a jurist from Wisconsin, Amy Barrett, I don't remember her last name, and she is a Roman Catholic who went to Notre Dame Law School, and she is the likely choice should Ruth Bader Ginsburg end up leaving the bench. The betting in D.C. is that she would be the choice, and she is a very staunch Roman Catholic. And as a result, this attack on a jurist now for being a member of the Knights of Columbus, for goodness sakes, is a precursor to the attack that we're going to see on Amy Barrett when it comes down to a Supreme Court nomination. And we will, I don't know, you're old enough to remember when Americans were cautioned against holding John F. Kennedy's religion against him, and not engaging in any of the verbal warfare about attacking candidate Kennedy's religion. He was a Roman Catholic. Roman Catholic at the time had served as president. And so that was the cautionary note from the left. Well, now the cautionary note from the left will be if you are Roman Catholic, you're ineligible. And it's somewhat ironic because Sotomayor is a Roman Catholic, but that will be what they're attacking her on in the Senate Judiciary Committee, because and who knows what else they'll dredge up since the stuff from Brett Kavanaugh is made up out of whole cloth. So we don't have any idea what else they'll dredge up, but we know there'll be an attack on her face.
Okay, now I wanted to ask you this because I'm sure, just like a lot of the newspapers at the grocery store, inquiring minds want to know, but why and how would it get and solicit votes for the Democratic Party by having Beto O'Rourke laying back in a dentist chair so that everyone can see his cavities since he was a teenager? And how does it help elicit votes for Elizabeth Warren when she lip locks a bottle of beer?
These guys are desperately trying, and Beto O'Rourke, or Robert Francis O'Rourke, the Irish gentleman who pretended to be Hispanic, he actually has succeeded in tapping into the social media, kind of the vapid social media culture. And Elizabeth Warren, who's a 70-year-old woman, tried to do the same thing and failed miserably. It's kind of every candidate. Remember when Bill Clinton got on Arsenio Hall's show and played the saxophone? Every candidate is going to try to connect by showing that they've got a cool factor. And that will be a really big factor in terms of trying to differentiate in the Democratic primary for president. It's who has the cool, the so-called it factor. They're going to try to be matching Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for her capacity to dominate the social media landscape with a tweet or a complaint or or a dance. And so they're going to be trying to emulate that, and it just doesn't work. I mean, Hillary Clinton ran around saying she had sriracha sauce in her purse, which she, just pandering to certain constituencies. It's what the Democrats do. When your entire party is based upon the hyphenization of America, then you have to be cool in order to cross the hyphens, and it isn't a matter of policy. They're all going to be far left. They're going to have a really hard time differentiating on policy. What they're going to differentiate on, and they're all going to hate Trump. So what they're going to differentiate on is, who do you want to hang out with in a bar? And so that's what you're going to see. You're going to see 20 to 40 of these guys running around trying to prove that they're the coolest kid on the block, and not a one of them should be talking about anything substantive that we can do to make the country better.
Amen. On a light note to end the conversation, the stage is set for next Sunday, the AFC and NFC championships, with the Chiefs playing the Patriots and the Rams playing the Saints. I have made my fearless prognostication that going from those games to the Super Bowl will be the Rams and the Chiefs. Do you disagree?
In my personal bias is I grew up a Rams fan, and I ceased being a Rams fan when they went to St. Louis. I was in D.C., but they left L.A., so I saw no reason to support them. And then they moved back to L.A., and I'm finding myself being sucked back into their vortex. So I will fearlessly predict the Rams, even though Drew Brees is going to kill their secondary. And so the Rams better be able to control the ball, and they better be able to put up 30, 40 points.
All right, how about the Chiefs and the Patriots?
I will never bet against Tom Brady. Ever, ever, ever. The single most important words ever spoken is don't bet against Tom Brady.
Okay.
So, given that, in spite of the fact I think the Chiefs are a better team, I think the Patriots will find a way to win.
You may be right, and I won't bet you a box of potatoes on it, I'll tell you that. Anyhow, God bless you for your time.
As an old guy, I also have this thing that I have to do. I have to root for the old guy over the millennial. I'm sorry, I just have to root for the old guy. Tom Brady's really impressed upon with, he's really struggled in life, got a lot of bad breaks, as you can see from just watching. You click a few pictures of him and his wife. But but you know what? I got to root for the old guy, too. So I'm going to, I'm not a Patriots fan, don't like the Patriots, but in this instance, I have to go with Patriots.
Okay, my friend. God bless you. President of Americans for Limited Government. I always look forward to Mondays. Richard Manning, take care. We'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Take care.
All right. Really enjoy him. He very astute political analyst, and we're glad to have him on our program. Richard Manning, every Monday. Thank you very much. Got to pay some bills. I want to remind you about our dear, dear friends over at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, his family, and his staff. They really care. There's a word right there, care, that sums up everything that they are to the community. They care. And they serve you and your family in a time of need when there's the passing of a loved one. Always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. Please remember the number 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, and Joel also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Oh, my goodness. We got a lot of things going on. In just a few moments, we're going to talk to a lovely lady, Debbie Critchfield, Communications Director for Cache County Schools, about the facilities bond election that will be coming up in a matter of weeks, as a matter of fact, in March on the 12th. So we're going to be talking about that momentarily. Right now, I also want to remind you about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Yes, I saw the great one at the ball game the other night. Jeff Bronson was there, came over and said hello, good to see him, and Lee's Furniture is having a January flooring event. Oh, you do not want to miss this. You can carpet your entire home in 3 different types of carpet. Standard carpet for only $69 per month, better carpet for only $89 per month, and the premium El Primo carpet for just $99 a month. Check it out. They've got the carpet installers. They've got everything for you. Luxury vinyl for your entire home, too. Woo! Better check it out today, where they can beautify and comfortize your home. And that's Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More with Jeff and the entire crew. 459 Overland and Burley, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Real quick, too, while we've got an opportunity, a lot of folks going out this weekend and hitting the hills with the snowmobiles, enjoying themselves. Well, that's what it's all about. Well, I know a place that you need to go to right now so that you can share in the fun, and that's Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Saturdays, 9 to 6. I said Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4. There you go. Got the right hours, scared them to death. And don't forget, they've got a huge accessory department. Anything you need to wear, whatever you need, right there at Let's Ride. Absolutely. And a service department second to none to keep you running and enjoying the great outdoors. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, and it is true. This is where the fun is sold at Let's Ride. Ladies and gentlemen, this next lady that's on the program has done so much for Cassia County Schools as far as being the communications director and officer, and has helped me immensely with the Cassia County School Days on Thursdays with all the different personalities and guests, and I really appreciate her. Good morning, Debbie Critchfield. How are you?
I am well, and happy Monday.
Well, do something to brighten it up. Debbie, coming up in literally a matter of weeks, it's not that far around the corner, on March 12th, there's going to be a facilities bond election. And I can tell you that after last Thursday of having Dr. Jim Shank on our program, many people called and have questions that they didn't have time to call in that day. Basically, give us a summation of what it is and why.
I would say that this school bond addresses primarily growth that has come to our area, and also takes in some maintenance. It also takes in an ability to expand our tech center, a couple of our programs there, the facility needs for some programs that help our students connect with local industry needs. It's $56.7 million, which no one is sneezing at. That is a large amount of money. And we're hopeful, the board is hopeful, that people will be able to get beyond the shock of the large number to see and look and take a review of the projects. And the best place that I can send people, short of the community meetings that we're in the process of scheduling, is to our website. There's a tab right on the website. People can get a very detailed look at where the projects are slated to go, why those certain things are identified for schools and communities. But that's a really long answer to your question. But I think the most succinct way to say is that we're in a growing community. We have local industry needs that we're trying to satisfy, and in a growing community with the needs that we've got, facilities, it's a ongoing conversation.
Debbie, I pull no punches on this program because I want to present everything concerning the facts and let the chips fall where they may. And so I'm going to go ahead and tell you some of the calls that I had last week after the program were, and I'm paraphrasing, so bear with me. One of the calls said, well, whoa, wait a minute, didn't they see this coming around the corner? Why all of a sudden are we hit with another bond election? And the others kind of chimed in a different fashion. But is this something that could have been seen and noticed earlier, or all of a sudden did this just creep up?
I think it's a little bit of both of those things. So the last bond that addressed elementary growth in Burley and or the shortages at our elementary schools with facilities was in 2015. And then we also looked at some needs in Oakley and Raft River that had been deferred over time. This particular bond focuses primarily on the growth that has happened in Burley and in Declo, and there are remaining needs. When citizens committees and the board at the time of 2015 and our board now looked at attendance and enrollment numbers, not attendance, but enrollment numbers at our schools, there was a projection on, well, knowing what we know and getting information from a variety of places, we can make some judgments, based on that information. The growth has been more significant than what the board at the time envisioned. And for our elementary schools, those projections were good. We're in Burley, we're sitting fairly well, especially with the rezoning of the boundaries. The real critical need in Burley right now is Burley High School. With the numbers that we have now, looking at our current 6th grade, we know that within 3 years that our student body at Burley High School will grow to 1,200 students.
Wow.
And that's just with our known figures. And so when you look at the budgets and the totals for the community of Burley, the high school takes in a big chunk of that. And so it's one of those things where we all wish we had a crystal ball, and maybe the crystal ball that we used, almost 4 years ago now, it was good at the projections that we had at the time, but we have, and I don't think we have to sell people on the growth issue. We're growing. We've got businesses that are coming. People are trying to buy homes, and we're trying to figure out how to make room for them.
Debbie, on the growth issue of the 1,200 students, now, how does that number equate to other high schools in the state of Idaho of the same size? Have they had to branch out and formulate other high schools within the community, i.e. Twin Falls with Canyon Ridge versus Twin Falls High School?
I think that decision rests on two perspectives. One, we can certainly, the high school can continue to grow as far as the enrollment. There's nothing in the state that says you have to have a high school that's at a certain number. And so some districts have approached that in a different way. Twin Falls, they built another high school. They didn't want to grow Twin Falls High School because it would have been a big investment in their facility. For the patrons of Burley and the citizens group that we looked at, their preference was to add on to the existing high school rather than build another high school. And you can look around the state. When you talk about building a new high school, that alone can go anywhere from $30 to $80 million. Idaho Falls, they've been trying to run a bond the last couple of election cycles to address some of their high school growth with a new high school, and they're up in the $60 million range. Just for one school.
When you look at this bond election and all the questions that I'm sure the populace is going to be asking, why don't we at this juncture, why don't you tell everybody where they can call, who they can call, where the information meetings are, and when? We want to make sure that it's easy for people to understand they can ask questions.
I think the easiest way is to go to casiaschools.org. There's a tab on the home page that says Facilities Bond 2019. We have listed pictures, information, budgets, numbers. We have a sheet of frequently asked questions, and certainly people can email me or call the central office. The effort is being put together so that we can have people feel comfortable making an informed decision. And I will say this, I about swore in blood that I would never run another school bond again after, we've done a lot of them. I get it. And for those of us that are working with the school district and are the front lines of these types of things, this is a serious thing. And we want to get the information out there. We have a community that is growing. We have deferred facility and maintenance needs. And our board chose to budget and to make these decisions in a way that was more comprehensive than other boards have seen before. And one thing I just want to touch on really quickly, and I think this point gets lost very easily in the talk. We get focused on, the high numbers. We're in a consolidated school district, which means when there are needs around the county, we need to address a larger scale. If you were to go and look in our own region, and for example, if we were to say that Declo is comparable to a Kimberly, Burley High School to a Jerome High School, Malta to a Dietrich, Oakley to Shoshone, all of those school districts have run school bonds in the recent past and have made requests. If you take all of those individual school districts and tally up all of their numbers, especially the ones that I've just mentioned, you're over $50 million. Mm-hmm. And again, I think we forget in the consolidated district, we have a lot of operational efficiencies that come with being consolidated. But when it's time to run a school bond, our numbers add up quickly if we're truly looking at identifying the needs that we have.
Let me ask you this question, and I'm probably not going to phrase it correctly, but I'm sure you'll answer it in the most efficient terms. The bond itself has got different categories as to where the money is needed and the percentages of money that has to go to solve those problems. Are they based on a 10 or 20-year projection?
Yes, the projections, and I think even more short term than even 10, looking at the next 5 to 10 to 20 years. And in some cases, these things are solved for 20 years. For Burley itself, we believe, or the board believes, that where they have come at this point, that it is going to solve the immediate needs and some short-term and longer-term needs. It's hard to say at what point is the community done growing, and so they're looking to address particularly the high school and the junior high. There are some things that can happen with the elementary school, with the elementary schools with grade configurations that would be able to absorb another probably 200 students. But the high school in Burley is at a point now where there's 4 teachers currently that don't have classrooms already, and you add another 200 to 300 students at that high school in the next 3 years, and we're not sure where we're going to put them.
What are the different categories? I don't think we've discussed that yet, that the bond's going to cover.
Well, if I'm going to sort of simplify, and again, I would encourage people to go and look at the detailed list.
Okay.
We've talked about growth. The other issue that we're looking, and I think it's a category in itself, about $8 million of this total goes for HVAC upgrades. All of our schools have heat, but hardly any of our schools have any kind of air conditioning. And we have old systems. And so we're looking at replacing and updating heating and cooling equipment with aging systems and new systems. I had somebody recently say to me, so you want us to spend $8 million to put in air conditioning in our schools for 2 weeks of the year? Well, no. Our schools are used year-round. And we're not unlike any other publicly owned building that has full operation 12 months of the year. And having proper ventilation is important to our people. Another category is maintenance. We've got major facility repairs. Again, roofs are not cheap on our buildings. Other than the newest buildings that were completed with the 2015 bond, our next newest buildings are 21 years old. Operational efficiencies are another category. And then the last one I would say that's a large chunk of it, we're calling workforce development, and this is additions and renovations to our technical center that serves all of the students in our high school. Our health occupations classes are busting at the seams. There's no room for them. Our diesel and automotive programs are not able to accommodate the training needs. And these types of programs lead to certificates and direct industry connections that help our students get jobs after leaving high school.
You know, the Mini-Cassia area, especially Cassia now, with looking at a facilities bond election, is indicative of how Idaho is on the map and a focal point of people wanting to move here, raise their families here, create a business, or further the business here. And it all goes back to the school system being able to provide their children with a great education.
Absolutely. We want to attract teachers, and a lot of times we hear, well, are we going to, what does this do for our teaching?
Mm-hmm.
School bonds can't do anything. Those monies have to be separate than what we use for teacher salaries. Equal to providing excellent and high-quality instruction is having a facility that accommodates the numbers and the growing needs of our students. We're at a time, as you pointed out with education, where we're trying to tell our students that you don't have to just go to college to be successful. You don't have to leave our area to have a good paying job. We want to help students make the connections here locally. We are trying to respond to the requests of local businesses. These are some of the skills, and these are the jobs that we're trying to hire. And investing into our tech center, providing adequate learning space at our school and a growing community really, I think, encapsulates what this bond is about.
Debbie, let me ask you this before I let you go this morning, but I don't think it's fair for me to come up with all the questions here. Maybe you would like to address some of the questions that have been given to you that maybe might shed some more information on this subject.
I think the first one you brought up, and I hear that a lot, why is the school district always running bonds? And it seems like we just finished one, and certainly the board is respectful of creating any type of voter fatigue. A school bond is the only mechanism that a school board has to address these types of large-scale needs. A citizens committee came to the board months ago after they did an 18-month study and said, this is what we've identified as critical needs in the school district. How are you going to address them? And so this is, like I say, the mechanism for the school board to take it back to the community to say, this is what we've studied, this is what we think are the solutions, and it becomes the community's decision in the end. It's not something personal in that sense to the school board that they're trying to accomplish one thing or the other. I think the growth, that's certainly something that we've been talking about a lot. Why is the number so big? That's another one that I hear quite a bit, and we're hoping that people will take the opportunity to see the information that's out there and make an informed decision.
In regards to the facilities bond election on March 12th, coming up in a matter of weeks, as a matter of fact, will the voting be at the established voting premises around the area? How is that all taken care of?
Yep, wherever your regular polling place is, your regular precinct. Of course, there's early voting at the courthouse, which people can do, I think it's a week or so prior to Election Day. That you can drop into the courthouse from any precinct and show your ID and vote there. One thing that is really important, it probably is in the top 3 questions, and it has to do with the tax impact question. What does this do to my taxes? We have put a very simple tax calculator on our website to make it easy for folks. All they have to know is what their assessed value of their property is, and we even give you an explanation of where to find that. Then you take that and you punch that number into what looks like a calculator online, and it tells you, what that will do to your household income. We and the board, they're very conscious and want to be conservative on the impact of taxes, but it is an impact. And it varies from household to household, and so we want people to see what that looks like financially.
Okay, let's again, to regroup, give all the information as to if they have questions, who they can contact, phone numbers, meetings, etc., if you would, please.
The best one-stop shop to get all of those really is our website. So CAJAschools.org. Look for the tab on the home page that says Facilities Bond. We will be posting community meetings on there. There is, and I can go in and put my phone number on there and the school district phone number if people want to call and have one-on-one conversations. Certainly visiting with our superintendent or your board member that you've elected in your zone. They're also willing to explain the whys and how we got there. This isn't something that anyone wants to do as a secret. It's an election that the county runs. The school district doesn't run it. It's a county-run election. And so we follow all of the laws pertaining to any other election cycle.
Debbie, I've always thanked you and given you a lot of kudos for the job you do, and it's amplified this morning the way you handled this situation with talking about the facilities bond election coming up on March 12th. The communications director for the Cassia County School District, Debbie Critchfield, thank you. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Enjoy your week.
I will. Thank you very much. Nice lady. And I really appreciate her taking the time to come on the program and discuss the Cassia School Facilities Bond election coming up on March 12th. As I said, just a matter of mere weeks away in the future. So if you have questions, be sure and contact the Cassia County Schools. Want to get the weather forecast in here real quick. And the weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks Goodwin, Crane and Company. They've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. 50 years. I mean, 50 solid years of providing to you, your family, and your business the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, retirement planning, business consulting, all of this and so much more, with offices in Burley and Rupert. Believe me, they are the best working for you. Phillips Oaks Goodwin, Crane and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
We're expecting sunny skies for the day, but as we move through the week, maybe some snow showers are going to be in the forecast. Here's a look at your weather for today. Mostly sunny skies, expecting a high of 30. Winds out of the east, right around 10 miles an hour. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with a low of 19. Tomorrow, we do have a slight chance of snow showers in the morning, and that's going to give way to partly sunny skies by the afternoon. Winds are going to be picking up out of the east as well. Gusts as high as 21 miles an hour, and we're expecting a high of 33. A slight chance of snow showers expected for tomorrow night, especially in the overnight hours. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of 24. By Wednesday, 40% chance of snow showers. Accumulations of less than a half an inch possible, expecting a high of 40. And by Thursday, rain and snow showers likely in the morning. That's going to give way to mostly cloudy skies by the afternoon and a high of 42. And that's a look at your weather forecast for Zebeth the Rain.
She does a great job. Thank you, Gina. Appreciate it. And brought to you by Phillips Oaks Goodwin, Crane and Company. As I said, outstanding accounting services for you in this area. So please get a hold of them today with offices in Burley and Rupert serving you. Phillips Oaks Goodwin, Crane and Company. I have time for a call or two, so I would appreciate it. Jingle 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587, and I'd love to visit with you about anything that we've talked about so far this morning or any subject that is kind of sticking in your craw, so give us a jingle. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, I can hear it, don't forget the best of life insurance, health insurance, and just making sure that you're protected from Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. My goodness, they're dedicated and responsive to serving your needs. I urge you to give them a call, talk to them today, set up the appointment. They'll help you. 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really, really nice people. All right, your turn. Calls welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Love to hear what you have to say this morning in the time remaining in this hour. Now, coming up next hour, and I've got to thank my lovely bride, Deanne, for this. We've had a distinct change in guests. I had no idea that this was being formulated, and I want to thank Deanne along with a person by the name of Jackie Jones for setting this up for us. Supposedly at 10:06 this morning, we're going to have a gentleman that's the vice president of the National Border Patrol Council and a Border Patrol agent currently, Art Del Cueto, will be on the program this morning. And we're going to hear right from him. And no ifs, ands, or buts. No Jim Acosta's from CNN. No Times News. No guest article editorial pieces against the wall. We're going to hear exactly what he has to say about the wall and border security. That's coming up at 10:06. And then at 10:30 this morning, very honored to start a segment that is going to be sponsored by our dear friends at Handy Truck Line in Paul. We want to say thank you to Clay and the whole crew, bringing us the Idaho Legislative Update starting today. And with that, starting today, we're going to have Senator Kelly Anthon coming on the program. As the weeks go by, we're going to have more great people like Representative Fred Wood. We're going to have Speaker of the House Scott Bedke. And at any time that they want to put somebody else on the air as an interview, we're going to be talking to the people that are right there in the thick of things at the legislative session for 2019. So that's what's coming up for today. And a reminder for tomorrow, I want to urge you to remember to tune in for Frosty Woldridge. We're going to be talking about a brand new article that he has written, and that's going to be at 9:06 tomorrow morning. And then, of course, your favorite at 10:06 tomorrow morning, Dr. History. Dr. Ken Turner will be back here in the studio. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. If I get a chance tomorrow morning in the first hour, I want to talk to you about Iowa Representative Stephen King and a comment that he made about white nationalism. And he had to refine and define his terms because even members of his own party, the Republicans, started coming after him about saying white nationalism. And he said, I am simply a nationalist, not a white nationalist or a white supremacist. It's too bad in this country that right now we can't voice our opinion about being proud of this great United States of America. Other groups use their color of their skin or their ethnicity to brag about their feelings, but if we say we're a white nationalist, which we are, most of us, something all of a sudden is evil or wrong. And it's just too bad that Iowa Representative Steve King really went through the grinder over the last couple of days about his statement of white nationalism. It's too bad. It's a sad commentary on our society. We're going to take a little break, send it back over to Wheels, and be back momentarily. Don't go away. Well, good morning again. Hour number 3, Zeb at the ranch, and I'm sitting here looking out the window at the frozen tundra. A little chilly outside, but sunshine and blue skies. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires for anything the road throws at you, by golly. And also some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Once again, our thanks. We just last segment had Debbie Critchfield with the Cache County Schools on. Thursday's normally the day that we talk about Cache County Schools and all that's going on, and it's brought to you by A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. Don't forget, they've got all kinds of birthday gifts, and they've got all the clothing, and they've got the Cherokee uniforms, the scrubs, etc., and all the winter clothes right now are 40% off, and coats 50% off. Save a lot of money at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley, bringing you on Thursdays at 10:10 Cache County School Days. I want to say up front how much I appreciate this man coming on the program this morning at literally a spur of the moment, because nobody was aware that we were going to try to need him this morning for this segment, and it should be very interesting. He is the National Border Patrol, on the Border Patrol Council, and an active Border Patrol agent. Would you please welcome with me Art Del Cueto. Art, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good, sir. How are you? Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate you reaching out.
Well, I want to ask you this first so I don't make a fool of myself. Did I get even close on the right pronunciation of your name?
You were extremely close to dead on. I can tell you that. When I received a call from, I believe it was one of the producers right now, he butchered it, but you did it justice.
Well, I appreciate it, Art. I think what I'd like to do right now is, with you being with the Border Patrol since 2003, so basically you've got over 16 years of knowledge behind you as to what's really going on the border. Let me preface that by saying I've been on the border many, many times. I've seen the problems that are incurred by the United States citizenry in those areas. From your perspective as a Border Patrol agent, are we at a crisis stage right now?
Well, first and foremost, I appreciate you asked the question, but I gotta clear it up. I act in my position as a National Border Patrol Council Vice President. I can't speak on behalf of the agency.
Okay.
I can get in all kinds of trouble if I speak on behalf of the agency. However, if I had the opportunity, I think things would be cleared up a little bit more. But I will tell you that not only have I worked on the border for quite some time, I grew up in southern Arizona. I grew up here my entire life. I've seen it. I've seen the actual issues of what we have in the border. President Bush said that we had a crisis at the border. President Clinton said that we had a crisis at the border. The second President Bush said we had a crisis at the border. President Obama said we had a crisis at the border. President Trump has said, let's fix the crisis at the border. And now everyone else is saying there is no crisis at the border, which is just ridiculous. The area that I work is responsible for over 40% of all the drug seizures in the entire country. This last year, a report came out, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, the amount of fentanyl that was seized is enough to kill every citizen in the United States. We have caravans that are forming, throwing things at our agents, tearing down our walls where we do have them, disrespecting our laws, breaking into the country. We have unaccompanied juveniles being thrown over the fence and over our barriers by relatives. I don't know what else people need to see to believe that we have a crisis at the border.
Art, I just absolutely am amazed as to the naivete of the American audience, if you will, that the Democrats back in the mid-2000s, 2006, 7, 8, all the way up to 14 with Obama, making comments that they would have to tighten up border security, and they at that time were in favor of the border wall. What happened, Art, in your opinion, for these people totally to abandon any border security and basically admonish those of us that want to have a tougher and stricter policy?
I think what happened is their hatred towards one man, and that is President Trump, is a lot greater than their love is towards the American citizen and towards this country. I don't believe that border security is a particular party's toe-the-line issue. I think regardless of whether you're sitting on the right or on the left of the aisle, or standing, or in some cases, I guess, kneeling, I think border security should be at the top of your list regardless. Added to the fact that I truly believe this. These are not just things that I'm making up. I have friends that are Democrats. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're at. At the end of your day, when you're home and you want to be safe at your home and you want to make sure that the people inside your home are safe, we all lock our doors at night. And I also believe that if somebody comes to our home, to our domain, we expect them to knock on our front door, and then we decide whether we want to open that door. And then once we open that door, we decide whether we want you to come into our home. I don't think we want anyone climbing through our windows or knocking down our doors. And That's as simple as I can explain it. And it doesn't matter whether you're Republican or Democrat.
Right.
We all want the same thing.
Right.
But we have some leaders, and you know who they are, and it's Chuck and Nancy. They have more hatred towards the president than they care about the American citizen. I see them out there and speaking and saying, well, the government employee's not getting paid. Listen, I'm one of those employees that's not getting paid. I did not get a paycheck. I need money. I want my money. I want to get paid. I want the shutdown to end. But you know what? It is that important to the men and women that are out there each and every day putting their lives on the line to hold steady, because we need funding and we need the borders secure. That's what we need. And I had an open invitation to Chuck and Nancy. If they want to see what's really going on, don't go with the agency, heads. Don't go with the leaders of CBP, DHS, and Border Patrol. Come on down here to Arizona. I will take you on a tour myself, and I will show you the reality of what's going on in the southern border. The invitation, it's an open invitation. I'm here. They can come down whenever they want.
Art, let me ask you this question, and I think I know what you're going to say, and I respect everything you're telling us this morning, but when it comes to the Democrats and their turncoat attitude against Trump, that's the only reason they're not supporting the borders, but it goes a little deeper than that, I think. I think because they lost this last election, they're trying to ensure that by basically an open borders program, they're going to invite and try to snuggle up to more of their liberal left votes in the future, and that's why they have a welcoming, you all come on in attitude. Am I wrong?
Well, it certainly looks that way, and I'll tell you what, as a Hispanic American, as a legal American, as somebody that my parents came to this country legally, as someone that defends our nation's borders, as someone that respects, loves the United States of America, and I can tell you right now, yes, I have Hispanic heritage. Yes, I came to this country through migration because of my parents, but I fly one flag and I have allegiance to one country, and that's this country, the United States of America. And I can tell you right now, it sickens me the way this next election is going to be turned around and talked about race. We already saw that fella down there in San Antonio that decided to run. And I hope the Hispanic people wake up and they realize that you don't vote for someone just because of their last name. You don't vote for someone just because they speak, their language. You need to do the research and you vote for the right person. I hope it doesn't, but I fear it will. It'll turn into this big old race thing, and it bothers me because I think a lot of these individuals try to align themselves with race and expect you to vote for them based on race. And just by doing that, I think it's insultive.
Absolutely. If I may, Art, and like I said, I've been on the border, and I know a lot of the people that live in the border areas in Texas, Arizona, etc. Some of the horror stories that they have related to me about the destruction of their property, the thefts on their property, how they feel totally ill at ease 24/7, 365 for their safety. Could you please elaborate a little bit to my audience just how bad it is, like living in the Douglas area, etc., for the property owners in that respective area?
I mean, you constantly have these individuals that are crossing through illegally, breaking into these homes. We have elderly couples that live in some of these areas, and they break into their homes. I mean, we just saw it all on the news. Nobody wants to talk about it, but we just saw it on the news. There was a police officer that was killed by an illegal immigrant. And no one wants to talk about it. I mean, where's the Democrats on this, their hard stance on gun control? Where's their hard stance on illegal immigration? They don't want to focus it on it because this time it was an illegal alien that acquired a gun somehow and committed this atrocity. Now I've put it into an even bigger perspective. Say I care about the American citizen. If I care about the American citizen, would I want to disarm you? Would I want open borders? Would I want sanctuary cities? I'm pretty much I want everyone to become a victim in this country. And I think that it goes back to my original statement. They need to find out, do you really love Americans and do you really love this country, or is your hatred towards the one president
more important.
Yeah. Art, you said that you have been involved in the drug trafficking as far as stopping the heavy barrage of drugs coming across our border. I don't think my audience, I don't think any audience in the United States really knows and understands how dangerous and devastating the drug traffic is.
You know, we constantly catch these individuals that are coming into the country with large quantities of marijuana, fentanyl, heroin, methamphetamines. We catch him at the ports. We catch him in different areas. And I guess the argument is, well, if you're catching him, then what do you need a wall for? Well, the reality is studies show that we're 40% effective. We need a wall for the other 60, you know? And what that wall does is it's a major deterrent, and it also gives agents that are out there in the field the opportunity to be able to respond quicker and arrest these individuals. Now, I've been going back and forth all morning looking at some of this national news where they had El Chapo Guzman up there in New York, and they interviewed some of the smugglers that were there, and the smugglers said, we don't use anything between the port of entries. Where we bring our dope and our drugs in mostly is through the ports. So the media is clinging on to that, saying, well, see, you don't need a wall. They're not even using it through the walls. It's coming through the ports. Well, we're going to now start listening and paying attention and believing drug smugglers when they tell you where they're crossing their drugs. That's just, I mean, I don't know. I mean, has everyone gone bonkers? Yeah, because the smugglers wouldn't have a reason to lie to us, right?
Yeah.
They would tell you exactly where they're crossing their drugs. I work out here in the Tucson sector, and I can tell you we constantly catch every single type of drug imaginable in between the ports of entries. And it's been like that since I started here in 2003, and it hasn't stopped. But at some point we need to realize, hey, you know what? Who's asking for the wall? Who's asking for better border security? It's the people that are out there every day trying to secure our borders. That's what President Trump has reached out to and spoken to. I've never spoken to Chuck. I've never spoken to Nancy. I've never spoken to either one of those people. So who are the experts they're talking to?
Absolutely. Art, let me ask you this, and I may seem a little naive on this, but I've often wondered, we talk about catching the drug runners. We talk about arresting and apprehending all the smugglers coming across with these dangerous drugs to come into America. But what about this side? What about the people that are buying and spending the money? Is there a chain that we follow to go get them that are buying and bringing the drugs in?
That is something that falls outside of my agency, and it would fall more towards the DEA. But I know we've worked hand in hand with some of the other agencies, and then there's intel involved that I really can't get into because it's classified. But I can tell you that there's several agencies that get involved and try to fix that issue.
I see. Now, let me ask you this question. With all the people, the different citizens of various countries and various means and motives of coming into this United States, there's literally over 100 and some different countries of people that have been arrested crossing our borders illegally. How do we know if they're not here as terrorists? I mean, the door's wide open, is it not?
You don't know. You don't know. And that's why the vetting process is so important at the ports of entries. That's why the vetting process and defending our country's borders is so important in between the ports. You do not know who's coming in and who's not coming in. It's just, it's a scary situation, and I don't understand how more people aren't aware of it, how more people are not more involved, and how more people cannot say that there is a crisis on the border.
With the looming thought, and it solidified itself this morning, that there's going to be another huge caravan coming up from Honduras, and there are still thousands of the first caravan stuck in Tijuana. What are your thoughts about more of these caravans, the funding, the organization? I'd like to get my hands on those people that are the organizers and just really give them a personality adjustment. This is terrible.
No, it is terrible, and I tell you what, it comes down to, you know, the reason a lot of these things aren't getting fixed, I believe, is because there's no consequences. There hasn't been any consequences for a while for breaking our immigration laws. President Trump is trying to get a hold of that. I think we have some individuals in leadership positions that are doing a good job, but there's also a lot of people in leadership positions that are here, and they have their own political agenda. And I think those people need to be called out, and those people need to be taken care of, or maybe they need to find another job, or they can be placed in another position within the government. But certainly there's a lot of individuals that I see that taking care of the Border Patrol agents, taking care of the people that are putting their lives on the line, and most importantly, taking care of the American public doesn't seem to be at the top of their priorities as much as their own political agendas.
As a Border Patrol agent and literally having to stand there as people on the other side are throwing rocks and bricks or whatever at you, I mean, the demeanor of a Border Patrol agent, you have to be one tough cookie to absorb all the potential violence against you.
No, well, I appreciate that. Obviously, we have some of the best out there that are trained, and they take care of what needs to be taken care of, and and not only defending the borders, but defend themselves. I can tell you what it comes down to. So I have a small child at home, and every time I go out there, I make sure that I hug her a little bit extra tight, and I give her a little bit more of a kiss. And it sounds weird, but when I kiss her, I try to smell her a little bit, because I just pray that if my day comes today, I'm able to think back in my last dying breath of what my daughter smells like, at least.
Absolutely.
And maybe I'll be comforted on my death, because that's a harsh reality that we all face. We go out to the border, we put our lives on the line, but we don't know if we're going to come home.
Absolutely. Art, one final thought, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot on this question, but really the division between the Democrats and the Trump administration for solving this issue, it's really down to a little pile of nuts and bolts. It could be settled this afternoon at 3 o'clock if they just get together, don't you think?
I hope so, but what I've been seeing is President Trump try to meet people more halfway, but I'm seeing Chuck and Nancy not meeting halfway, even though several years ago they were okay with border walls and border security. But it comes back to what I said. Their hatred towards President Trump apparently is a lot bigger than their love toward country and their love towards the people that are living in the United States legally.
Well, I want to tell you, Art, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for filling in at the last minute to come on our program. You were excellent, and I wish you the very best. Art Del Cueto, and he is the Vice President of the National Border Patrol Council. Thank you, and I mean that. God's blessings to you. Always be safe, and go home and give that little girl of yours an extra big hug.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. God bless you and the American public.
Thank you very, very much. Wow. Wow, what a nice gentleman. And I got to tell you a little background about the lady that helped get us with him on the air this morning, Jackie Jones. And she's got her company that finds some of the more interesting personalities in the news today. And she lined this gentleman up for us at the spur of the moment, Art Del Cueto. And used to have his first duty station was at Casa Grande, Arizona. I've been there many, many times. And he is, right now, as I said, he is the vice president of the National Border Patrol Council and a Border Patrol agent, telling it like it is. My question is very simply, if this man is making a living trying to support his family by being a Border Patrol agent and seeing and working with what's happening on the border every day and knowing what's needed and what's necessary, why aren't we listening to these people? Why do we give any credence at all to the Chuck Schumers or the Nancy Pelosi's or the Dick Durbins? Why? They're not there putting their life on the line. They're not there dodging rocks and boulders and everything else that's thrown at them. They don't know about apprehending drug dealers coming across the border with enough drugs to kill an entire state. They don't know anything about what's really going on down there. And here's a man, God bless him, that puts his life on the line every day, and he knows what's necessary. He knows what's needed, a wall. He knows that we have to curb illegal aliens from coming into this country. He knows that among those are terrorists trying to come in and establish themselves in this country. And we listen to the idiots, and they are, with CNN and the Democratic Party? What in the heck is the matter with us? Wake up and smell the coffee. Listen to people that are there every day on the line of fire, if you will. And please disregard the idiocy and incompetency of the Democrats that are doing this solely as a move against Donald Trump, animosity against his presidency, and doing nothing more than trying to buy more liberal voters for their party in the next election. Good gosh, wake up and smell the coffee as to what's really going on. Sorry about the soapbox, but that is the way I feel. Don't forget our dear friends at Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. Oh, these are good folks. Curtis, Lorena, the whole crew over there, they've got the best of car stereo speakers and systems and complete sound systems over there. Oh, I mean, if you love music and you love sound, they've got everything for you. Like home entertainment centers, I tell you what, they've got everything right there. All the TVs, Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, everything. They absolutely, and video surveillance units, too, and cameras. All of this and more at Patterson's, 421 East Main in Burley. Don't forget, they're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6, and they will serve you. Call them, 678-6997, Patterson's in Burley. Right now, we're going to take this break. I'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
And thank you very much and welcome back. I am honored to have again on my program the Idaho Legislative Update as we talk to our senators and representatives up in Boise during the legislative session. And it's brought to you by some really wonderful people. Handy Truck Line in Paul. The number to call, 438-5071. They are very dependable, honest carrier, partnered with many similar carriers to satisfy all your transportation needs in the best manner possible. They do the job for you and do it efficiently. We really appreciate their sponsorship of this segment, the Idaho Legislative Update, brought to you by Handy Truck Line in Paul. They're celebrating over 90 years in service to the Northwest. Right now, here's another gentleman. He hasn't served us for 90 years, but he's getting close. He's been there for a while. Senator Kelly Anthon, a dear friend. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. And to think of 90 years of doing this, I don't know if I can do it. But I will say, thank you to you. Thank you for your listeners. This is a pretty, I think, unique opportunity for many of us in the legislature to be able to call home and be on the air and talk about the issues with folks. And thanks to Handy Truck Line for helping us do that. But thanks for letting me be here today, Zeb. I appreciate it.
No, I can't tell you how many times folks in the audience should know this. I've called you as a senator to come on our program and help with some of the information, etc. You've always been there, and that means a lot. You and I were talking a little bit earlier this morning prior to going on the program in regards to the W-4 tax filings, and people had better become aware of what needs to be done or hasn't been done. Explain that, if you would, please.
You bet, Zeb. This is an issue that has really been on my mind as I've worked with what's called the Economic Outlook and Revenue Assessment Committee here in Boise. So this is a committee that gets together at the beginning of the session, and we hear reports from all over the state in every sector about how the revenues, which really mean taxes in the state for the most part, how the revenues are looking for the state and how we should budget accordingly. Because in Idaho, we balance our budget. And so part of my job on that committee is to make predictions and based on the data of what's going to happen in the economy over the next couple of years. But something interesting has happened in this year's analysis. First of all, the economy is doing really well. There are signals on the national economy that there could be a turn coming in the next few years, but Idaho's economy is doing well. But here's what was odd. The revenues, the taxes that are associated with income tax especially, are significantly down in the state coffers, $40 million down. And so you say to yourself, now wait a second, if the economy is doing so well and the revenues of the state coffers are that far down, something is going on. And as we've investigated this through the State Tax Commission, what we've realized is that last year, and let me back up, for those of you who followed, and I'm sure your listeners did, the Trump administration did a major tax overhaul in 2017. Mm-hmm. And when they did that, they, of course, lowered the tax rate, but they also increased standard deductions, they eliminated certain personal exemptions, they capped certain deductions, and so on and so forth. And then Idaho followed suit last year. As a matter of fact, I've got to tell you something, Zeb, that I like to say, and that is that Idaho's tax rates are the lowest they have been since 1934. Wow. So we're coming up on close to 100 years since we've seen this kind of a tax rate for our income taxes in Idaho. And I love that. I mean, obviously we need to keep our tax rates high enough to keep business going and get our roads fixed and all that. But we have pretty low taxes. So why are the tax rates lower? Well, or the revenues lower? Because when they did all that tinkering to the state and federal tax codes, they changed the need for you to adjust, you people who work for employers, your W-4. The W-4 form, of course, is the form that you fill out for your employer that tells how much tax to hold out of your paycheck. So that by the time you get to the end of the tax year, you either owe or you get a refund based on those withholdings. Mm-hmm. And what we're hearing is 75% of Idahoans now have not adjusted their W-4 since that major tax overhaul. Wow. And so there's not enough tax being withheld from people's paychecks, and come tax day in April, I am very concerned that people will be surprised to get a big tax bill.
Well, Kelly, how does this oversight, and that's what I'll call it for right now for lack of better words, but how does this oversight happen that their accountants, their accounting firms, et cetera, were not made aware to make the adjustment?
Well, I think if you go onto the State Tax Commission's website, they've been working at it for a while to get people aware. And I'm guilty of this. At my job, you just don't think on an annual basis to go in and tinker with your W-4. No. Matter of fact, some folks have left their W-4s in place for 10 years, the number, that you withhold. And so I just think it's just so unusual that people haven't thought to go make the adjustment. Now, in places where I work, I've tried to go out of my way to tell people, hey, you need to get in and change your look at your W-4. There's a new W-4. Because even though you're paying lower taxes, they're not withholding the right amounts out of your paycheck, and come tax day, you're going to have to come up with a bunch of money.
Well, now, Kelly, was the original concept that the Trump administration had of lowering the taxes and creating the deductions, was it a good thing or a bad thing, or what did it do or didn't do that you liked or didn't like?
Boy, that's an interesting question, Zeb, because, I look at the federal government and I see how they spend. And I see how they don't balance their budget, and I honestly think they spend on things they ought not spend. And I say, boy, I'm glad to see a tax cut because I think the federal government takes plenty of a bite out of my wallet. However, when I see that they can't balance their budget and the way they run deficits, it does bother me a little bit that they're not getting that job done. As a matter of fact, there's a major move, Zeb, in the United States to continue the work, something that Ronald Reagan talked about forever, of trying to get a balanced budget amendment into the Constitution to force Congress to balance the budget every year, like the states do. Yeah. The state of Idaho we balance our budget every year. And often in the last few years, we've had excess. We actually do such a conservative job of it that there's extra money, which we then put into savings or spend on transportation. So Zeb, I think that what they did for the middle class, I believe, and for some of the and for the lower class and for some of the real wealthy, is I think across the board the Trump administration's revision of the federal tax code is good for Americans. I really believe that. And I believe that the Idaho follow-up to that, where we lowered taxes, well, I think it's the largest tax cut in Idaho history, was also very good because we were running excesses in revenues. We don't need to. We're not in the business of making money here in Boise. We're here to do the lightest touch of government we can, take as little out of your wallet as we can, and still provide the services that we need to do.
Well, let me kind of put this in my terminology, and then you tell me how far off I am. Without adjusting the W-4s for the proper taxation, it's kind of, and it is going to affect the budgeting that you as a lawmaker in the state of Idaho have to come up with for the next fiscal period. It's going to affect the budgeting. So doesn't it kind of create the problem of if Idaho wants to buy a Cadillac, they might end up buying a rusty Volkswagen with 3 flat tires?
Well, you're absolutely right. Now, I would never advocate Idaho buying the Cadillac. However, you're absolutely right. So what's happened is now we come to Boise, the coffers are short because of the W-4 situation. And that means that those who, the legislature, as they set budgets, are forced to budget an amount that is probably not entirely accurate because the money is going to probably pour in April, maybe even February, April, May, June. I mean, it's going to pour in at a different time. And so when we go to set our budgets this year, we're going to have to be, we're going to have to budget less than what we really will end up having because the money of timing. The money's going to come in at the wrong time. So that's a problem. That's kind of a side problem. And if I was sitting at home, I'd say, well, it doesn't hurt these guys to budget a little less, and I get that. But the truth is, Idaho's very conservative with the way we budget, and so this $40 million-ish for this budget year is going to mean that we will not spend as much on stuff like transportation and some of these other needs that I would like us to see spend on because of the unnatural and false and kind of deceiving fact that the money hasn't rolled into the coffers yet.
Right.
And the governor said in his state of state, we only spend money that's in the bank, and I love that. We do. But unfortunately, we have an accounts receivable out there that hasn't come in yet just because of this technicality.
So word of advice from you, our senator, everybody should be aware of the shortfall, perhaps, on the W-4 and make that correction.
Make the correction and then get thinking about it. Maybe have your accountant or whoever helps you with your taxes take a look so that when the tax bill comes, you're not surprised. Now, I'm confident because of the tax cuts. Again, you're paying the lowest tax rate since 1934. But you won't feel that. You won't feel like that when you go to pay your taxes in April, and it's more this year because you didn't adjust your W-4.
Absolutely. Okay, now I've got about 8 minutes left here this morning, actually 7. I'd like you to kind of address any other issues that you, as our senator, are going to be looking at and doing a lot of work on during this legislative session.
Sure. I think, what your listeners would be interested to know, of course, is that we are now in the process of all the talks and considerations of implementing Prop 2, which, as you know, was Medicaid expansion and passed in Idaho about 60% to 40%. In my district, of course, in Minnetonka area, there was quite a mixed result. And so you still have uncertainty, I think, in my district anyway, as to how people feel about this. But the voters have created a law. The law is in place, and it says that we will expand Medicaid. One of the things that we're talking about in Boise is how do we do that the Idaho way? What would that look like? And as an example, one of the things I've really been looking at is to try to restore the asset test to Medicaid. When Obamacare was passed, one of the things they did is removed an asset test. So you can be sitting on millions of dollars in assets, but if your income's low enough, you still get Medicaid. And that is, in my mind, not a good result. What I've been doing is some research on that, and it may not surprise you to find out that what I'm being told as I do my research is that Obamacare expressly now forbids a state like Idaho to reinstall the asset test. So it continues to be a mess. But at any rate, I think that your legislators in Boise are making a good faith effort to honor the voters' intentions and to do it in a way that fits Idaho. Work requirements. They're going to be talking about work requirements. Like I said, the asset test. We might be considering sidebars that say when the federal government pulls their money, then we're not going to have Medicaid expansion anymore. Some of these things that should protect us, I hope to protect us from some of the negative concerns that were out there when the Prop 2 discussion was being had.
Well, that leads me to another question, and I'm so glad you brought that up about work requirements. There was an article on the op-ed page in the Times News not too many weeks ago from a guy by the name of Luke Mayville, the co-founder of Reclaim Idaho, and he said that no, they should never have work requirements. I have long maintained on this program, and I don't care who's offended by this because I'm going to tell the truth. I have long maintained that there are many segments of the society that can work, should work, and are not working, but yet they're getting the gratuities offered them, and I don't think it's fair. And I think a work requirement, if they're able, should be a necessity.
Well, so I agree with you a lot on this, Zeb. I mean, I think generally, let's set even Medicaid aside. Generally speaking, I believe work is ennobling. I think that anybody who is able-bodied should work, period. And that includes, I'm talking, you want to talk about a lot of work, talk about your stay-at-home moms. That's a lot of work.
That's right.
But anybody who is able-bodied should be working. And I think we've lost track of that in our society. Even think about the Great Depression when we sent our young men out to the CCC camps and the WPA because we understood it was disheartening for people to sit around and do nothing. And we accomplished a lot of good through those programs. I think we've got to get back to this concept that you don't sit around, do nothing, and collect a check from the government, that in fact you actually will feel better, you'll do better, and society will prosper more if everybody's working. So I'm all in on the work. Now, here's the trick, Zeb. Here's what you got to be careful of in government, is that they don't create a work requirement that requires so much monitoring and bureaucracy that you spend another bazillion dollars in Boise trying to track everybody's work requirements.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing I'm trying to be real careful about on that.
Okay, but I do have a question that I haven't been able to answer with my research, and I'm simple cowboy, so you got to bear with me on this. With Prop 2 passing, and now they are going to have the Medicaid expansion, how high is up? And when I say that, are there limitations on the numbers of people because of the influx of people coming in? Are we going to see an overabundance of people and no ceiling?
Well, we don't know, really. I mean, all we could do before Prop 2 passed was to make the best guesses that we could through, and granted, I'm not trying to distract from their work, professionals that said they could calculate out some of those risks and actuaries. And supposedly, as we approached that and we approached Prop 2, we did that a very conservative job. Now, other states have realized that. They've passed Medicaid expansion. There were more people come forward that met that mold and met that criteria to expand into Medicaid than they thought. Idaho's tried to be very careful about that. And as you and I have talked about, Zeb, the other part of this is there will be cost savings. I mean, unfortunately, the reason why Medicaid expansion has become as popular as it has in concept is because we're paying for it already through property taxes and other places. And so there will hopefully be a balancing out the way that we have been told there will be that could actually save Idaho money. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Real quick, before I have to let you go this morning, other issues that you think, as our senator, are going to take a lot of time and a lot of consuming of the time to try to get settled in this session?
Well, it's interesting, Zeb. This is that phase in the legislative process, where we are just starting to see the issues come forward. Those are the bright line ones that I see so far. I'm always trying to pay attention to those that matter on a social basis to my constituents and that are constitutionally protected, like gun rights. I'm a pro-Second Amendment legislator. I'm going to make sure that there's no funny business there. I've heard recently there's going to be talk about marriage. Apparently there's some concern that in Idaho we do not have very much restriction on what age you have to be married. I've heard that being circulated. So it's yet to be seen. But I think that where everybody's focused on in Boise right now is that these revenues are down, and then who's going to get whatever's left over.
Absolutely.
The other thing that I've argued for quite a bit is continue to build a rainy day fund.
Mm-hmm.
It just is prudent in my mind, and so I continue to make that message known in Boise when anybody wants to hear it. And that is that when we're in good times, it's smart for us to put a little bit of money in the bank because we know just in recent years that we can drain the bank in a hurry if there's bad times.
And with budgetary shortfalls due to, like the W4 problem we were talking about earlier, some very important issues like infrastructure may have to be avoided this year. Am I wrong?
Well, no, you're not wrong. I mean, the good thing is that we've had the surplus eliminator, which says when at the end of any given year, if there's extra money, we put half of it in the savings and half of it into infrastructure transportation. And so we've been able to get a lot done with that money. I do worry because the surplus eliminator is about to expire. So that's going to be another big issue is what are we going to do policy-wise if in future years we have excess money? What are we going to do? One of the things that Speaker Bedke from our district is working on and I support is a surplus eliminator that helps us also deal with some of our irrigation projects and some of our irrigation infrastructure, because with the changing and some of the water fights we've had, we realize that we have some opportunity to do some upgrades that will help us save water and save trouble in the future. So you're going to see that debated as well, is how you deal with the surplus eliminator.
Absolutely. Wow. Did time ever go fast this morning? And you were the kickoff program to a successful, I hope, legislative session. Senator Kelly Anthon, God bless you, man. You are good at what you do, and I appreciate you being on the program.
Oh, Zeb, thank you. That's nice of you. And God bless you, and God bless your listeners. And it's great to live in Idaho and to be a part of this. So I appreciate your time.
All right, Kelly. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Thanks.
You bet. Bye.
There you have it, our first Idaho legislative update brought to you by Handy Truck Line, and I'm very proud to have Handy Truck Line as our sponsor of this segment. They provide transportation services to Idaho and the surrounding states with terminals in Pocatello, Meridian, and Salt Lake City, Utah, and they're serving over 90 years in operation to you. Thank you, Handy Truck Line. And, of course, that's the Idaho legislative update for this week. Next week, we'll be talking to Representative Fred Wood. Right now, my goodness sakes, we've got to get a weather forecast on, and the weather is brought to you by our friends at Scarrows Meats. Don Scarrow and the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. Delicious meats from Scarrows Meats. You can call them on the telephone at 324-7657 or go to their website, www.scarrowsmeats.com. All the delicious marinated pork ribs and the tri-tips and the prime rib and the breakfast bacons and sausages and the bratwurst. The list goes on and on. The very best of meats from Scarrows Meats in Jerome. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
We're expecting sunny skies for the day, but as we move through the week, maybe some snow showers are going to be in the forecast. Here's a look at your weather for today. Mostly sunny skies, expecting a high of 30. Winds out of the east, right around 10 miles an hour. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with a low of 19. Tomorrow, we do have a slight chance of snow showers in the morning, and that's going to give way to partly sunny skies by the afternoon. Winds are going to be picking up out of the east as well. Gusts as high as 21 miles an hour, and we're expecting a high of 33. A slight chance of snow showers expected for tomorrow night, especially in the overnight hours. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of 24. By Wednesday, 40% chance of snow showers. Accumulations of less than a half an inch possible, expecting a high of 40. And by Thursday, rain and snow showers likely in the morning. That's going to give way to mostly cloudy skies by the afternoon and a high of 42. And that's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Wow, she does a comprehensive weather forecast, and we appreciate it. Brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. I got to get Don over here one of these days. Deanne, we got to call him, and when we call him to have him come over on the program, tell him to bring some bratwurst. Anyway, Scarrows Meats at 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time at Scarrows Meats. Woo, what a morning. Great guests and a lot of fun tomorrow morning. Frosty Woldridge and Stoats Equipment with Vic and Dr. History. And then we're going to have an interview with one of the attorneys with the Pacific Legal Foundation and all kinds of goodies tomorrow morning. And we invite you to tune in. We have fun putting this program on, and we made a promise to you when we started this show years and years ago. We would always provide the best in guests from anywhere and everywhere in the United States and for that matter the world. Want to remind you about our major sponsor, and without them and all of our sponsors and advertisers, we're not going to make it happen, but we do with the help of our great friends at your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh my goodness, 7 locations serving you with all the tires to get you through whatever the road is going to try to throw at you. I'll tell you what, they have the best. All the different tread designs, all the sizes for your car, your pickup, your SUV. You just go in and talk to them for a few minutes about your driving habits and conditions, and they know just the tire that's going to work best for you. Stop in and check it out, along with the absolute very best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. Oh, we've got some cold weather left. Make sure you've got good batteries. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. That's not brag, that's a fact. Your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Good people. Wheels. Outstanding job the last couple of days, and I wanted to give you credit on the air. There you go. Now your head's so big your cap won't fit.
Well, thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. I hope that you've been having a great morning so far.
I will, and you know, every time I salute you and give you a compliment, that means the next day's in jeopardy. You better be there on time, kid.
Aye, sir. Will do. I promise.
All right. Take care of yourself.
You too.
We'll be back tomorrow morning with more at 8:06 right here on K-Bar, 12:30 a.m., and then streaming live on the internet all over the world, ZebBell.com. And we always wrap the program up by saying the way things were are the way things ought to be. And the world needs more cowboys. See you tomorrow morning.